Well, welcome to the JC podcast, a place where we get to explore and unpack life topics in a confusing and fast changing world. I'm your host, James, and this is our first episode. I'm really excited to share this kind of passion project with you. Just a bit of background on why I decided to start this podcast. I think been looking for, what are some things that I, am passionate about? What are things that I like to do that I can kind of invest in? And yeah, when I have thought about doing a podcast for a long time, actually, quite a few months, maybe a year or so. But only in the past 2 months, I really decided, maybe this is something that I really want to invest in. And I love just having conversations with people. I love, unpacking the challenges of life that we live in, especially with a faith perspective. I'm a Christian, and and so I think just came out of that passion. And so, yeah, I think there is value in talking about the difficult stuff, in talking about the challenges that we face, especially as young adults. And, I was hesitant to start, but just kind of seeing where this goes, and yeah, who knows where it will go. A bit about the mission. I like to have a mission, a purpose of why I'm doing this podcast. I've got the tagline that, we explore and unpack life topics in a fast changing and confusing world. Life is tough. It's really challenging, especially nowadays, with the introduction of the smartphone. It really propelled us into a fast changing world, and we want everything instantly. And, our bosses expect more from us. And, it's just a whole new different world that we live in. And so it's good to talk about it. It's good to wrestle with what should we continue doing? What should we learn to adapt to? What should we resist against? And sometimes I'm not going to have all the answers. I think that's just the reality. I don't have all the answers, but I hope that this podcast can be a place where we can just chat about topics and explore things together. So I guess I have kind of a few hopes for this podcast. So we're going to touch on different topics, and it's going to be a wide range of topics such as, dating, relationships, singleness, church life, ministry, maybe even touch on some leadership stuff, finances, friendships, communications, like pretty much everything that, a young adult would kind of experience, right? And my hope and desire is to really just bring on guests, different people, friends and kind of acquaintances, and interview them and have the opportunity to just hear the wisdom of other people and to hear the experiences from others, and I guess like what they're thinking and what they're struggling through, and so that we can learn from them. Just a bit about myself if you don't know me. So as I said, my name is James. I'm 30 years old. I just turned 30 a few months ago. I am single, and I've never been in a relationship before, so I've been single all my life. I'm currently a pastor at a church, but currently I'm actually on a sabbatical, 2 months into my 6 months of sabbatical because of burnout. So that kind of puts me in an interesting position. I served the church most of my life, since high school. Started on the worship team, and then went into, youth leadership, and then, service, leading the service team, and then became a pastor. Been Christian for pretty much my whole life. I studied actually film and photography straight out of high school, and then took a bit of a break, did a few things here and there, and then ended up going Bible college a year after that. So I did that for 2.5 years, and then became a pastor part-time. Also happened to work at a bank as well for 6 months, so that was great. And and then I became full-time about a year or so after that. And so that's kind of a bit about me, and I guess you'll continue to learn a bit more about me as I do more podcasts. I think today I just really wanted to kind of give a bit of a teaser of a kind of different a series, and I hope that throughout this podcast I'm going to be doing different series, and then we'll kind of revisit them and rehash them. But the first one is, just a series on about singleness and kind of my experience, a singles pastor's experience with online dating. And I have dabbled in online dating. It's been about just over a year, I think, since I started doing online dating. And I just thought it would be interesting to kind of share my experience, but also to just unpack, the whole online dating thing, especially as a Christian, and like how should we see this, And I know everybody has a different opinion on, whether Christians should be doing online dating. And I think for me, I was one of those people. Like I was the person that was quite against online dating for myself. Like I didn't see any kind of theological reason or a biblical reason not to pursue online dating. I think as long as you were doing it for the right reason, and we'll kind of get into that in this episode. But I was very much at that point of like, I don't think it's for me. I feel that it's like taking, things into my own hands, like taking control when, it should be God, controlling my life. So, but I was challenged, last year about this. And, I heard a few kind of success stories through other Christians. Had a relative who, who got married, and they met through, the app, specifically Coffee Meets Bagel. And I heard, but then I was like, I'm a pastor, like, it's a bit weird to do online dating, and like, who knows, I might see some, people in my church on there, and like, it would be a bit awkward. But I think a few key things I heard of another pastor who shared his story because, he essentially, his wife passed away, and so he went to the online dating scene, and he was just sharing and being vulnerable. And I was just like, yeah, man, if I could, or if he can do that, like, what's stopping me? And I think the other one was, just chatting with somebody, and it was actually my a counselor that I was talking to at the time, and he just kind of helped me to shift my perspective that at the end of the day, online dating, it doesn't mean that you're instantly gonna have a relationship. You're still going to have to put in the hard work to get to know them. You're still going to have to go on dates. You're still going to have to do all these things, but it just allows you to expand your social circle so that you can meet different people. So, just one night, it was probably like, I think it was like 1 or 2 a.m. at night. I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to do this. I'll do it for a week, see how I go. So signed up for Coffee Meets Bagel. I signed up also for another app, Salt, but didn't end up using that in the long run. But yeah, then just kind of went from there and had, just started, I guess, matching with people and just chatting. And yeah, so I think it kind of begs the question of like, how do you approach online dating? So I think that ultimately your heart has to be in the right place. And I think when I started online dating, I guess I could say that I was quite content with my singleness, and I'll probably do another episode of like, what does that even mean? And like, how do you reach contentment in your singleness? But I think for me, I was quite content with being single. Like I was okay with that. And I was just kind of, doing ministry and living the life that God called me to live. But obviously I still had the desire to be in a relationship. So, that was kind of my mindset. But I knew that obviously I wanted to be very intentional, that I wasn't here just to, play around or, mess with people, but really intentionally wanting to find a relationship that would, hopefully lead to marriage. And I think regardless of whether you're doing online dating or not, I think for dating that should be really important, that you are pursuing your relationship with the thought of marriage in mind, because that is the end, right? That is the end goal that we should all aim for, especially as Christians, right? And so that was my mindset. And, I think culture nowadays has painted online dating with different strokes. So you have like Tinder, who, everybody knows it's the kind of one night stands. It's the just, have fun, play around. Not to say that, relationships don't come from Tinder. I think there are definitely probably some stories of people getting married through Tinder, but it's that kind of mindset of like, or just kind of hookup culture, which is not what I'm talking about. And then you have like CMB, which is, and I think Hinge as well, which is a little bit more serious, with a bit more mindset of like intentionality there. Coffee Meets Bagel, especially CMB, they stop you from like just constantly swiping. Hinge does allow you to just swipe infinitely, but Coffee Meets Bagel, you have like a set number per day that you can, see and like or, pass on. And so I think depending on which app you're on, you're gonna get a different experience. But also, yeah, I think your intention behind it. So I guess moving on to like the question of, as Christians, why should we online date, or should we online date? Um, as I said, my previous belief was that I think it's okay. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with using an application to on your mobile phone to be able to meet other people, right? I think you should be wise about the filters that you're using. So if you don't know, online dating apps allows you to filter different people. So you can filter by location, you can filter by ethnicity, height, religion, all these kind of different fields, right? And as a Christian, I think it's important to filter, obviously, Christian, that they are Christian. I think another thing to filter is like, especially age as well, like if that's important to you, if ethnicity is important to you, but obviously Christian, right? And I think on part of that, there's also stuff like, are they, do they drink, do they smoke? And obviously people have different opinions on that. But that's going to help curate the kind of people that you're going to meet. Now, that doesn't guarantee that they're like, if you say Christian, doesn't mean they're going to be like a very, mature and, great Christian, right? You still have to talk with them. You still have to engage with them, but it helps to narrow it down. So I think, now this is like a personal thing for me, but when I look at people's profiles, and even though they say Christian, like I know that because I have the filter, everyone that I'm going to see is going to be a Christian. But the thing that I really look for is like the things that they write in their bios, right? Because you can actually add like, kind of fun facts about yourself and the things that you value, kind of interests or hobbies that you have. And the thing that I always look for is, do they have anything about their faith in their actual bio in a way? And I know it's not the be all end all. Like I know there are definitely probably good Christians who just don't put that stuff in their bio. But I guess for me personally, this is more of a personal preference. I like to use that as a filter because I know that, I really, really want someone, a wife who really loves God, who really loves to serve, who is has a servant heart and has a heart for the ministry. And I know that somebody like that will put something about God in their profile, right? Whatever that may be, right? So for me, it's like, I put that, I like to go to church, or, I like to, serve and serve God and to, and I love him and stuff like that. And so, of course, again, people could just simply write anything, but I think it does show, right? And so from that, I make decisions on whether I swipe. So just because they're a Christian doesn't mean I, just simply swipe, So I think that's really important to have to go in with a really good intentionality of what kind of person you're looking for, and not just kind of simply swipe at anybody that comes along your way. But yeah, I think it's okay to online date. As a Christian, it is okay to online date because at the end of the day, it is just an app that allows you to just view other people who may not be in your social circles, especially if you are part of a really small church or your church is just really so big that it's really hard to meet people. Then I think it's okay, as long as you're doing it with the right intentions, with the right reasons. So yeah, that's my approach. Knowing what I want and reflecting that in the filters that I set. Now, of course, there are times where, maybe you see someone who's just like, who's, as a guy for me, like who looks really, really pretty, like, has really, really good looks, but then like, there's not much in their profile. So then I have to guard my heart to make sure like, oh, am I doing this just because of their looks? Or like, am I actually taking in my own advice and my own filters? And not kind of compromising on the core values that I'm looking for. Now, I've chatted with other people who have tried online dating, other guys, and I know that they have different approaches. But yeah, I guess that's been my approach. And from that, I've been on, through online dating, I've been on probably, let me think, one, two, about 3 in-person dates from like 3 different people that I've met across this past kind of year and a bit. And yeah, like two of them were kind of progressing somewhere, but then didn't end up working out anywhere. One of them we just kind of met and realized that we probably don't have that chemistry, and like that's fine. But yeah, and obviously I kind of before that I chatted with them enough to figure out that I think that their faith is genuine. I think that was one thing when I ask questions, I'm not. Yes, you kind of have that small talk, but for me, my approach is that I want to know: are they a genuine Christian? Do they love God? Do they serve? And yeah, just obviously a bit about their family, what do they do, and all that kind of stuff. Which church do they go to? Make sure they're not part of a cult or anything. But yeah, my approach is always to really suss out, where their faith is at, and is that compatible? And obviously they find out that I'm a pastor, so that kind of either freaks them out or it keeps the conversation going. So I've definitely chatted with people and it didn't work out because either no chemistry or whatever it is. So yeah, so I think that's what was I saying? My approach to dating and my experience with it. So I think it has been successful for me in a way. I remember there's that saying that just because it doesn't work out into a relationship doesn't mean, or even if you break up, it doesn't mean that it was a failure. Like at the end of the day, if the purpose of dating is to determine suitability for marriage, then the best thing that you could do is to realize that, okay, we're not suitable, and to end it. And that's not a failure, that's actually a success, right? Because you have determined that we are not suitable. And then hopefully, God willing, one day someone comes along and you realize, yeah, we are actually compatible and suitable for marriage. So yeah, I think, is online dating for everyone? Obviously, I don't think so. I know many Christian singles who have said that, yeah, just online dating is just not for them. And like, I respect that, and I know it's not for everybody. And I think guys and girls have different experiences in online dating as well. I mean, I can't truly speak to the female experience on online dating. For me as a male, I think there are definitely more males than females on the platform. I think so, from what I gather. There's this really good video online. What's it called? Let me just try find it. It essentially talks about the kind of disparity of online dating and why men and women have different experiences. Let me just try find that video. So the video is called "Why Men Get So Few Matches on Dating Apps" by Memeable Data. That's the channel, the YouTube channel. So "Why Men Get So Few Matches on Dating Apps" by Memeable Data. And essentially they're saying that there's many different reasons as to why, but very likely that there are more male than female users on dating apps. That's number one. Number two, men tend to give more likes than women. And number three, a small share of users get a bigger share of likes, and so that's kind of the results that they determined. But yeah, it's a great video. I suggest you go watch it if you're interested. So "Why Men Get So Few Matches on Dating Apps" on Memeable Data, and they do it in like a really great illustrative way that keeps you engaged. But yeah, like I think that kind of explains a lot of different people's experience, and like men and female. So I remember I was chatting with a female who happened to be doing online dating, and their experience was that the kind of the first day, within the first day of them starting the app, they got like 100 plus likes, whereas for me, first day I started the app, I got like 1 or like 0 likes. And I think it's just a different landscape for men versus women. But I think that shouldn't discourage you from trying, especially if you're a man. I understand from the women that can be extremely overwhelming to have like 100 likes. It's just like, you don't know who these people are. 100 people seeing your profile. There's definitely a lot of feelings that come to that of just like, oh no, people have seen me and all these things. But so I understand it's not for everyone. I do understand that. And of course, I know that for the male experience especially, you can get catfished if you're not careful. So all these things play into it. So I know that people have tried it. People said it's not for me, and I think that's fine. But I think it's worth trying if you're open to it. But yeah, I think why do people, especially Christians, struggle with online dating? I think besides the reasons that I shared, I think maybe I'll just go with the benefits. I think one of the great things about online dating that I have found for myself is that it allows you to skip all the, I guess, initial uh, defining the relationship, DTR. So let's just say, you meet somebody new in your friendship group, let's just say, I don't know, at church or whatever. And, initially you just get to know them as a friend. And then as you get to know them, you say like, oh, maybe I like this person. And you have to get to that process of like, hey, would you like to grab coffee and stuff like that. Online dating just skips that entire process because you know that we are both here for the purpose of dating each other or to seeing if we are compatible to date and then to be in a relationship and get married. So I think that's a good benefit, especially if you are very shy or very hesitant or, just unsure about doing that thing. And, I personally have had challenging experiences in that space. And, that's why I was like, I think online dating, I see benefits in that. So I think that's probably a big one for me. There's intentionality there, and I think you have to make that clear, especially if you chat or go on your first date. I think another benefit is that you get to kind of see a bit about who they are a little bit before meeting them in person. So I think there are some benefits, but of course downsides, especially for Christians. I think number one, it could be that you. I think one of the difficult things, and I think maybe females might have this experience more than males, is that you end up having to chat with a lot of different people at the same time. And that's something that I personally don't like because it's like, wait a second, did I tell this person this already? Or like, it gets really confusing. And I personally don't like it. I kind of feel disingenuous, or, doing that. Or like not genuine doing that. So that's another challenge, especially if you have a lot of people, swiping and liking and matching on the profile. So, but I think, online dating is great. And I'll probably wrap it up now and we can kind of explore in future episodes, but I think online dating is great. It definitely works for some people. But I know it can be a tough road because not always are you going to have the experience where it's like, oh, the first person I match with, or like the first few dates, I'm going to find somebody. And, my experience was good. I think I did, find people that, I matched with and we went on a few dates and we were able to explore and we just determined that, okay, like this wasn't going to work out. And I think that's fine. And I think that's just part of online dating, and that's part of dating actually. So I recommend it if you are interested to give it a go. I think just the main things be, number one, make sure you have the right heart. So are you doing this just to fill this empty hole and that, this person probably can't fill, or, are you doing it for the right reason? And we'll get into that in another episode. And number two, do you know the kind of person that you want? And not to say that you have to know exactly or have this massive list, but at least know the kind of person so that when you do start filtering and you do start meeting people, okay, this is this person I could be compatible with, so that, you just don't waste their time, don't waste your time as well. I think just be smart about how you go about it. Don't just reveal everything about yourself because this, at the end of the day, it is a stranger. But obviously if it does happen to get to a point where you get to meet and go on a date, then that's amazing. And just kind of take it slow, see how you go, and do some DTRs along the way to know, hey, where are we at, and are you on the same page as me? So I think that's kind of my experience with online dating and kind of my views. And maybe we can, in the future, maybe I'll grab some people on the podcast who have experienced online dating or who has some opinions, and we can unpack that. I guess you can, I guess look forward to that. This has been the first episode of the JC podcast. Thank you so much for joining. And if you're at the very end. Thank you so much for listening all the way. I know I do have a few fans out there who was very excited to get for me to start this podcast, but I am pretty excited to get this going and see where this goes, and just pray that God will, I guess, use this in whatever way He wants to. But hope that you have a blessed day. Remember that God is faithful; He is always with you, and no matter what you're going through, you can always take your worries and your cares to Him. Just open up your heart and just pray and speak to Him, and He will, comfort you, and He will give you that peace that you are looking for. So, thank you again, and I'll see you in the next episode.